triads. Now, you can utilize these guidelines when you're harmonizing as well, but this is directly related to people who, got figured bass parts in front of them, those continual players, and had to basically in real time voice chords in the composition. Okay, keyboard harmony guidelines for root position triads. Okay. So, and this is going to be useful in your realization part of the assignment. Okay, so if your bass moves up or down by step, then the other voices, what are they supposed to do to avoid parallel fifths and octaves? If bass moves up or down by step, then other voices, what?
This is just a guess, but it has to move in contrary motion.
You are correct. Number 2, if bass moves up or down a third, then what happens to your other voices? Okay, so the trick is, if your bass moves up or down a third, then 2 voices stay the same, and 1 moves by step. Okay, again, we're talking about keyboard harmony, root position guidelines that'll really help you realize figured bass, realize chords really fast without committing any parallelisms. Okay, let's move to guideline number 3. Does anyone know what you need to do if your bass moves up or down a fourth or fifth? But when your bass moves up or down a fourth or fifth, then what happens is you carry over 1 voice, you have 1 common tone, and then 2 voices move by step. So you have 1 voice stay the same, 2 move by step.
It can be up or down by step, or
it can be up or down.
Okay.
Up or down. Rules. And I would be able to realize figured bass, simple figured bass exercises in minutes. It's incredible. You could even do it, even if you're not a great pianist, you can apply this on the fly, if you're just working with a root position exercise, and you can guarantee you will not commit any parallel fifths or octaves if you follow these keyboard harmony guidelines for realizing figured bass. Or if when you're composing your chorale, you can compose your bass line first, plan out your harmonies, and wherever you have root position chords in play, you use this, and you can rest assured you're not going to commit parallelisms. All right, so let me demo these. And then let's move by third. Let's see, let's have a 2/5 version. And then let's have bass move. I'm going to voice the first chord in this bass move by step category, and then we can apply the rules. So we have a 4 to 5 progression in C major, just keeping it simple here. All right, let's see. Let's double the root in the alto voice. Make sure it's voice 2, alto. Have the third in the soprano. And let's, voice 1, tenor. Let's have that middle C. Okay, voiced the 4 chord. Now we're moving up by step in the bass. So that means all of these chord tones, the tenor, the alto, and the soprano, need to move in contrary motion to the bass. So our bass is moving up. We got to move all of those other voices down in order to avoid parallel fifths and octaves. So I'm going to move that soprano voice, that A to a G, moving against the bass. I'm going to move that alto voice down to a D. Again, we're moving against the bass, bass moving up, we're moving down. And then we're going to move the tenor down to the leading tone. All right. There are indeed no parallel fifths or octaves. And we don't even, in realizing these bass notes, these root position bass notes, we don't have to check. So long as you follow the guidelines exactly, you will not get parallel fifths or octaves. Okay, now here we have the second root position category when our bass is moving by third.
You said 2 voices stay the same and the other voice moves up by step.
Doesn't necessarily have to move
or
up by
down.
step, but just move by step. Yeah. Okay, so let's voice this 2 chord that we have here. Just an FYI. So I chose new chords to demonstrate. Here we have a root position 1 chord going to a root position 3 chord to the tonic extension, which is allowed. So let's voice that 1 chord. I'm going to again double the root in the tenor voice. All right. And we have the third in the alto and the 5th in the soprano. Okay. Okay, so if we're following our voice leading guidelines, what notes can we keep the same, moving from 1 to 3?
You can keep the alto voice.
That's correct. We can keep that E. And what else?
And you can keep the G.
Yes. All right. So those are our two common tones. We move them over. And now the next one moves by step. We need a B. I guarantee there are no parallelisms in that. 0. And you saw how fast we voiced that? Very fast. Okay. Now we're going to voice the last root position category. All right. Again, these are rules for root position. And when you're starting with the bass line, these are not rules that you can apply in their pure form when you're harmonizing. That is when you start with the soprano. When you start with the soprano and you're filling in the other voices, you can use these rules as guidelines, but you have to double check your work because, of course, you're not going to be able to follow the rules as strictly when you're harmonizing. But if you decide when you compose your chorale that you're going to start with your bass line, if you follow these rules exactly, you will not commit any parallelisms. All right. Okay, so in this last category, what happens in the last root position category when your bass moves up or down a fourth or fifth? The guideline.
One voice stays the same and then 2 moves by step.
Yes, that's correct. All right, so let's voice this 5 chord. I am going to double the root in the soprano this time. I'm going to have the leading tone in the tenor voice. I'm just voicing the first chord, so we have something to start with, and then the 5th. Okay, so which note do we want to keep the same? Which voice can we carry over from the 5 chord to the 1 chord?
The soprano.
Yes, the soprano. So we're going to move that G over. All right. And then we move 2 of the remaining voices by step. So we're going to move that leading tone up to a C. We're going to resolve the leading tone. And we're going to put in the 3rd of the chord here. And great. There are no parallelisms in that 5-to-1 progression because we followed the rules. We followed the guidelines. Now, here's the thing. This 5-to-1, what type of authentic cadence is this? Fill the criteria for a perfect authentic cadence. Here's the 1 chord.
It doesn't.
No, it's imperfect.
Yeah, it's imperfect. It's imperfect. In order for this to be perfect, the soprano note in the 1 chord has to be scale degree 1. So we have 2 chords in root position, and they're both complete root position chords, but they're, the soprano is scale degree 5. So this cadence, this authentic cadence, won't sound very strong. It's something that you could use in the body of a piece, but not as a final cadence to a phrase or to a composition. So if you need to create a perfect authentic cadence, it is okay to create parallelisms, all right, in a perfect authentic cadence to meet the criteria. But again, only when you're trying to achieve a perfect authentic cadence at the end of a phrase or at the end of a piece. Within the body of the piece, you want to follow the guidelines exactly. Okay, we're good? Are we ready for first inversion chord guidelines?